life itself arose from water. It's where the essential building blocks were formed over millennia. It took thousands of years for aquatic animals and plants to make the transition onto land. Look at today's birds. They've evolved from the free-roaming dinosaurs, and now they're forced to make a home in crowded cities. Adaptation to the changing environment has been the rule to survive on Earth. But the speed of climate disruption is outstripping the capacity of many species to adapt. Hello and welcome to Eco India. I'm Sanuta Raghu, coming to you from Mumbai. In India, making a head start in the direction of adapting to the changing climate is the town of Meenangadi in the South Indian state of Kerala. It has set itself the ambitious deadline of becoming India's first carbon-neutral town by 2020. We travelled to Meenangadi to take a look at how far they've come.
Jyotirja Kali Kali loves his evening stroll around his coffee plantation. The organic shade-grown Robusta coffee he grows is a speciality in the southern state of Kerala.
This is Wayanad's Robusta coffee. We count the number of clusters on each branch. For the best coffee harvest, there should be 13 of these clusters on each branch.
Cha Kali Kali's plantation in the quaint town of Meenangadi is special. It is on the verge of becoming the first carbon-neutral certified coffee plantation in India. But that involves more than just the plantation. The town has set itself an ambitious 21st century goal.
As the world confronts global warming and climate issues, we have started a carbon-neutral program. While people tend to think of development in terms of infrastructural development, like building roads, bridges, and airports, we will include the environment.
Since 2016, Meenangadi has become something of a climate science lab. The local government here is working with a wide range of groups to figure out how the town's net carbon footprint can be brought down to zero. This is significant for India, a country that is the world's fourth largest greenhouse gas emitter. When the project began, many of the 34,000 residents of Meenangadi didn't know what global warming even meant. But they knew that things were changing.
We've all been affected by climate change. Weather patterns in Wayanad are not what they used to be. Wayanad used to have a natural AC, but now we can't sleep without using electric air conditioning.
The emissions produced by transport, households and industries in the town are already being partially offset by biodiverse forests that surround Meenangadi. That was revealed by a detailed study conducted to determine the town's footprint at the time. The study concluded that an additional 15,000 tons of CO2 needed to be put back into the ground each year for the town to attain net zero emission or carbon neutral status. Volunteers and workers began to reforest the area. They hope to do their bit to buffer the average temperature rise of between 2 and 4.5 degrees Celsius that is predicted for the region by 2050. For Meenangadi, such a rise would cause rice production to fall and devastate heat-sensitive crops like cardamom and coffee. The study found there were other improvements the town could make. For example, waste management. Today, the workers from Harita Karma Sena or Green Army ensure that household waste is separated at source. They go door to door to collect plastic and other recyclable waste and bring it to a resource recovery center set up under the carbon neutral program. Here, they further process and separate it according to categories. Suni manages the facility with its staff of 32 workers. and is delighted with the way things are going.
People carry their own bags now when they go grocery shopping. They have stopped using plastic sold in stores. So plastic consumption in households has dramatically decreased. It has decreased in my own home as well. Before this happened, plastic bags were rampantly used by shopkeepers, but that has gone down now. Most of the people in Minagari have changed their ways a lot.
But even before the carbon neutral movement began here, Anil Kumar, the headmaster of a local school, had begun working with his students to offset CO2 emissions.
Yes, good afternoon.
90% of the children studying here belong to local tribal communities. Most of them belong to the lowest economic groups, but they are the most sensitive to the environment. They don't need any lessons on how to plant and nurture trees and shrubs, as they get ample knowledge of that from their own homes and villages.
Together, they cultivated bamboo plantations at the school as a valuable sink for carbon storage. In this region, bamboo has the potential to offset up to 400 tons of CO2 equivalents per hectare. Using funds allocated for the carbon neutral program, Anil Kumar and his students transformed the plantation into a biodiversity park by planting even more varieties of bamboo along with medicinal plants.
If all these programs are implemented properly, then we might just be able to achieve this ambitious objective. We hope that the number of new trees that we have planted will be enough to sequester the excess carbon.
Often, carbon neutrality is a goal that can never be entirely or completely achieved. But even getting the community together is a success in itself. And this could certainly serve as a model for many cities in India.
Reducing the carbon footprint requires commitment and effort from each one of us. To start with, however, solid data is needed to analyze the problem and measure the impact. There are several web platforms and apps that can do this for us today, making complex data available with a simple click or swipe.
Fighting pollution in city parks. That was the aim of the online call which hundreds of people in Berlin followed. The cleanup call was based on data collected by volunteers who had discovered many polluted places in the German capital. Plan A supported the call. The startup's focus is environmental protection.
Climate change is not one problem. Climate change is a lot of problems that are intertwined, and our data approach helps us actually untangle this complexity. We use the data to pinpoint exactly the locations and the types of issues that happen around the world that need to be immediately acted on.
The Berlin-based startup analyzes data from research institutions around the world. Based on its findings, Plan A contacts individuals, companies, and community groups in the affected areas worldwide. They publicize their projects and allow users to help fund them. Data analysis can help to identify and address environmental problems more quickly. Litterbase is an online database that's open to everyone. Graphics show the results of more than 1,000 scientific studies on marine pollution. On a world map, it's easy to see where research expeditions have already taken place. The latest results from the worldwide scientific community are regularly fed into the database. The aim is to make the global issue of marine pollution more accessible and easily understood, including to non-scientists.
Nowadays, nobody reads anything anymore, especially because of social media, and people like to have pictures. Having these maps and these analysis graphs are really providing useful information in really short time to the public.
Another example, the Global Forest Change database at the University of Maryland uses a map to show the state of the world's forests. Since 2013, users have been able to call up info based on satellite images. They can see the effects of forest fires, illegal logging, and reforestation over long periods. The platform is also dedicated to protecting forests and their inhabitants. It combines satellite technology with open data and crowdsourcing. Data platforms make the problems more visible. And with an app, everyone can do their bit to help tackle them. The CO2 tracking app Reforestum focuses on individual consumption, and it gives you the chance to create and manage your own forest. The Oro Echo app is similar. Enter your daily habits with a few clicks, and the app will calculate your carbon footprint and show you how to shrink it. It also invites you to be a climate hero by supporting carbon offset projects that help people and the planet. For the digital activists in Berlin, mobilizing people is an important factor in tackling the global problem.
The climate protection has made people scared, tired, and unclear on what they need to do, I think because of the language that is being used. We speak in a way that doesn't necessarily explain to people what the issues are. We should be focusing more on actionable advices rather than simply speaking with big words about the issues.
With the help of these apps and data platforms, we can all contribute to the protection of the environment.
And it is again data that shows us that our oceans are warming up, causing sea levels to rise. Since 1880, they've risen by around 24 centimeters. Whether it is the city planners in New York, coastal residents of Lagos, or rice farmers in seaside Indian villages, they all have one life-threatening question to face: how to adapt when sea levels rise to as much as 60 meters as scientists have predicted.
Paseco, a poverty-stricken district in Manila's port area that's packed with houses on stilts at the edge of the sea. The people here live on the water and from it, and sometimes they fear it, especially the monster waves spawned by typhoons. Lovely Suarez came here looking for work 15 years ago and ended up staying. She sells food to freighter crews. 3 times now, storm flooding has destroyed the shack she lived in. The first time it happened, she nearly waited too long before fleeing.
When I saw that the water had come up this high and was starting to form eddies on the floor, I just grabbed my kids and my bag and rushed out. I left everything, including our clothes. I just took my kids. My second child was just a baby back then. After we got out, our house was totally swept away by the current.
"21 families have moved into this apartment block. 3 years ago, like Lovely Suarez, they all lived in improvised shacks. Subsidized by the state, the new housing has been built to help protect people from the sometimes deadly flooding. Filomena Cinco, nicknamed Carmena, lives here in a 21-square-meter flood-proof flat. Her old home was just 4 square meters in size. The move has changed her life.
Now that we're living here, I felt that I am now a homeowner. So that's the difference. So the human dignity was back because we live in a decent unit now.
Right next door, people still live the way Carmena used to. There's a sewage canal close by. When it grows clogged with garbage, it overflows, something that happens several times a year. The residents in Carmena's building are working off part of the cost of their new apartments. Every week, they make sure the waste canal is free of detritus that could block it. She remembers well how frightening the floods could be.
One of our worries then is, what if the floor of our houses will collapse because of the flooding? So, see, there is no peace of mind at all during those days.
Around a third of Manila's 12 million inhabitants live in informal settlements. They're the ones most at risk when the water rises due to tropical storms. And heavy rain can also cause flooding. With help from the World Bank, the city is modernizing pumping stations to help reduce the threat posed by storms.
You can see here a big flood control pond. So basically all of the flood waters coming from the upstream catchments, from all of the communities, they all converge here in this pond where they are stored. And then we have here screening facilities that screen the garbage so that it will not block the pumps. And then inside there's big pumps that will actually draw in the water from the pond towards the river, which is behind this building.
Drainage areas like these are part of a flood management plan being worked out by the Filipino government and the World Bank. Ronald Muanya is a consultant there.
Climate change has basically worsened the flooding situation in Metro Manila. As early as the 1800s, Metro Manila has been very flood prone, but the population then was, very small. With this huge population in Metro Manila, and then climate change increasing the incidence of, very intense rainfall, it just puts, more people into danger from flood risks.
The residents who live close to the water unintentionally make the problem worse. Their improvised housing and the waste they produce can keep floodwater from draining properly. That's why the government now wants Lovely Suarez and others like her to resettle to other areas. But she's afraid of what the move might bring.
We're willing to leave if they want to remove us because we know that this place is a danger zone. But what we really want, if there's a budget, if they'll provide a budget, is to move somewhere close to here. We want to stay in this place and not be thrown out somewhere that might leave us jobless and starving.
Lovely Suarez and her neighbors continue to live in fear, not just because of the destructive power of the water they live on now, but also because they could end up in a place where they'd find it even more difficult to survive.
It's not only us humans who need to cope with the changing environment. As the planet warms, species are shifting to where, when, and how they thrive. They're moving up the slopes and towards the poles. A tally of more than 4,000 species from around the world shows that roughly half are on the move, disrupting ecological relationships.
Climate change is causing animals to respond by either adapting or migrating. This includes marine creatures such as corals, which are at great danger from rising water temperatures and growing pollution. Scientists say a further temperature increase of 2 degrees Celsius would be too much for most corals to survive, spelling their death, and that of many fish and sea vegetation species. Storks and other migratory birds are already adapting. They used to spend the winter in Africa due to the abundance of food there. Now the birds are increasingly staying home. That could in turn have an impact on ecosystems in Africa. Fewer birds means fewer predators eating insects like locusts. Pests such as the bark beetle are among the beneficiaries of climate change. Higher temperatures and lower rainfall are weakening the defenses of trees, their primary source of food. Entire forests of spruce trees have already been ravaged by the parasite. Rising temperatures are also impacting on the Serengeti ecosystem in Tanzania. Wildebeest and zebras have always migrated with the rain through the savanna. An increase in the frequency and duration of droughts is prompting the animals to look for water elsewhere. In the process, they can stray into areas with bigger human populations. They then become both a threat to farmland and easy prey for poachers. Climate change and species extinction are inextricably linked. Scientists are already warning of twin crises in which 1 million species will be at risk of extinction in the decades to come.
With the loss of their habitats, animals become even more vulnerable. Many of them are exploited, taken in as pets, paraded as tourist attractions. The Asian black bear, for example, an endangered species, is being trafficked for medical reasons. Animals like monkeys are captured from the wild illegally to be sold as exotic pets. Poor living conditions and very little social contact is the reality for many animals used as tourist attractions or for entertainment. Be it zoos, marine parks or circuses, the business with wild animals is incredibly profitable. Circus Roncalli is going against the flow by using digitally rendered projections or holograms of animals, not only to preserve the traditional circus experience, but also to make a statement against rampant animal cruelty in the business.
In the beginning was a horse.
There are horses made of gold dust and an elephant performing tricks. But there are no live animals here. The long-standing German circus Roncalli is introducing a new era by using holograms. Circus director Bernhard Paul says it's a sign of the times.
We no longer set up our tents on meadows, but often in a parking lot in the middle of a city. So the living conditions for animals have changed. We have to take this into account. We have to observe the changing world around us and constantly make the necessary adjustments.
Holograms are the new stars opening the show.
Welcome to Circus Roncalli.
And then real performers take over.
The circus ring is clear. Let us begin.
The circus is currently in the northern German city of Lübeck, performing their program Storytellers yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The idea is to transport the romantic world of the circus into the 21st century. The future is represented by an acrobat interacting with an industrial robot.
At the circus, things should come as a surprise. People shouldn't know what's coming. They should say, "What's that? I've never seen that before." Steam machines, cars, electric light, etc. All these caused a sensation at the circus back in the day, and now we're introducing holography.
A company based in Germany's Ruhr region, which is specializing in augmented reality, implemented the ideas that Roncalli had come up with. They used 3D animation to model the figures first. Birger Wunderlich's team also created a virtual version of the circus tent to calculate the viewing angles of the audience members and then adjust the animations accordingly.
To recreate the huge surface of an elephant is a very complex task. We use photos to help with the texture, but an elephant also has over 40,000 little bristles. And if you look at the elephant in the circus ring, you can see them. It's quite a challenge to model and render them.
The holograms were tested in a huge studio, at a quarter of their eventual show size. Not all of them are part of the current show.
In future, there'll be much more interaction, and that will be even more interesting. The acrobats will be able to interact directly with the holograms, just like an artist makes new arrangements, creates new worlds, and moves within them.
For the current tour, circus director Bernhard Paul was filmed against the backdrop of a green screen and then animated into a virtual balloon. But what do the audiences think? Is there something missing? Or do they think it was about time that real animals left the circus?
I think it's good that there are no more animals because it's not right for them. If you really want to see live animals, you can go to a zoo.
It was breathtaking. I really liked it, and I've never seen anything like this before.
I was missing the romantic Roncalli spirit of the past. Holograms and technology are not giving me the same flair.
The smell of horses was missing a bit, but on the whole, I liked it.
It was great, really well done. With the elephant, I had the impression that it was about to sit in my lap. That's how realistic it was.
In the next show, the virtual world will merge with the real world even more. What seems certain is that the circus will remain a world of magical surprises.
What an incredible idea. We do need more productive thought and innovation like this if we are to adapt to a planet that is changing more rapidly than we think it is. We'll be back next week with yet another thought-provoking episode. Until then, goodbye.